Hello, my name is Declan Mulready from the Audi Academy. Today we're going to jump in and take a look at the Audi A3 from a few different points of view. We're going to take a look at it from a design point of view, we'll take a look at it from a performance point of view, and we'll also take a look at it from a safety point of view, and as well as some of the options that are available for the car. The A3 is rather unique in our lineup because it's a hatchback. Most of the rest of the vehicles we offer are either sedans or coupes or SUVs. This is possibly the car that appeals to more Europeans than anything else. And one of the reasons it appeals to Europeans is its versatility. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not one of those cars you just use for getting back and forth to the home store. It's also a very sporty and very, very fun car. But the reason why it appeals to Europeans is because most European households only have the one car and it has to do everything. And voila, the A3 answers most problems. One of its greatest benefits in this configuration, and by the way, in the US, we call this the Sportback. One of its greatest benefits is its versatility. We can pop the trunk and we can put in those bits and pieces that we picked up at the home store over the weekend. We can fit in a few extra pairs of golf clubs. We can pop in our snowboard. We can pop in a surfboard, whatever the case may be. When we're finished either playing or doing the stuff around the house, or heading out to dinner in the evening, you can fit full-size adults very, very comfortably in the car, or you can fit 3 children across the back seat very, very comfortably as well. Take away the utility and look at this car from a design point of view, and the car is 100% Audi. Yes, it's got a slightly different back, but every other cue on the car is 100% Audi. If you take a look at the rear, it's instantly identifiable as an Audi because of the styling of the lights and the lighting configuration on the back, and also the way the lines flow onto the back of the car. You take a look at the side of the car, thick B-pillar, very smooth all the way across. We also have a very high belt line on the car. We're going to get to safety in a short while, but this is not just a great design cue, but also a great safety cue. And from a design point of view, it makes the car look a little stouter, a little bit more aggressive. As we move down the car, as you look around every Audi, you're going to notice that fit and finish is one of our greatest things, or one of our most important things. And when you look at the paint finish on this car, it's nothing short of spectacular. When you look at the attention to detail on this car, again, nothing short of spectacular. Every line on the car and every gap is absolutely perfect. If you follow every line on the car, every one of them actually goes somewhere. There's nothing on there that ends nowhere. Every one of them has a job. Then we get to the more traditional bits and pieces. And you take a look at the full single frame grille, instantly identifiable as an Audi. We also have the LED lights, which are available on this car, again, instantly identifiable as an Audi. We also have the lower grille openings, again, instantly identifiable as an Audi. These are just a few short, quick things, but needless to say, the A3 hits all the boxes from a design point of view. We've talked about various aspects of the A3 so far. One of the things I'd like to move on to now is safety. To most customers, safety consists of things like airbags and so on. Well, we're going to talk about those briefly, but I want to take a look at the more important aspect of safety, what the car is built around, or what those airbags work within. For the Audi A3, one of the things you have to remember is its German pedigree. When cars get into an accident over there, they're typically traveling at higher speeds, so it's the safety cage that will do more work at deflecting energy than anything else. Now, airbags are useful. However, let's take a brief look at the safety cage. First of all, we have 2 very strong frame legs sitting out front that have built-in crumple zones. Next, the engine will drop and move underneath the car in the severest of accidents. Why don't we move back and take a look at the protection we actually have around the driver and the passengers. Starting out at the bottom of the A-pillar, we have a very rigid steel safety frame that moves up from the A-pillar through the B-pillar and then down into the C-pillar and finally in the D-pillar. The benefit of this is that when the car gets hit, the energy is sent through this cage. Now, to give you an idea of how well built this car is, why don't we open up the doors and take a look at the B-pillar. For most cars, when you take a look at the B-pillar, if you try to put your hands around the B-pillar, you can actually get your fingers to touch on both sides. This is very definitely not the case with the A3. If if you look at this incredibly big, beefy structure. Now, frontal accidents are a lot easier to deal with than side accidents. And the reason why I say that is you've got a massive amount of space to get rid of all that energy from a crash. However, when you get hit side on, you literally only have about a foot of energy, or a foot of space to get rid of all that energy. So, besides the very stout A-pillar, besides the airbags, which we have a curtain and a side seat airbag, we have multiple beams in each door. So now when the car gets hit, instead of the energy trying to move inwards, it actually moves sideways. Take all these things I've shown you so far. These are the reasons why this car earns a top pick from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. Now, all of this is good stuff, but if you could avoid that accident, it would be even better. Earlier on I mentioned ABS, but there's another feature that we can bring in here which is even better, and this is called ESP. Basically ESP, it stands for Electronic Stability Control, and what its job is to prevent the car from skidding out or getting you into a situation that you can't get yourself out of. How it does that is very simply by applying braking to an individual wheel to make sure that the car keeps going in its intended direction. You take all of this, you put it together, it makes one very, very safe small car. So now what I'd like to talk about is performance. When you choose an A3, you get two different engine options. The first one we can choose is the 2-litre TFSI gas engine, and the T stands for turbocharged in there, by the way. Now with this engine you've got 200 horsepower and 207 pound-feet of torque. The 207 pound-feet of torque is the key number here, for the simple reason being it pulls the engine from such a low RPM and really gets the car up and moving very, very quickly. Now this engine has been on Ward's 10 best engines for the last 4 years. So needless to say, not just is it powerful, it's also a very smooth engine that gives great gas mileage as well. And in this day and age, that's quite important. Now speaking of gas mileage, the second option gives you incredible gas mileage, and that's the 2-litre TDI. This engine develops 140 horsepower, which doesn't sound like too much, but more importantly, it develops 236 pound-feet of torque at a very low 2500 RPM. This engine this year has also been on Ward's top 10 best engines. Speaking of awards, this engine also won Green Car of the Year. In fact, the whole car won Green Car of the Year. And when you consider all the competition out there for this award, it's kind of startling that this little car would do that. Next up, we have your choice of gearboxes. With the 2-litre, you get two different choices. You can get the 6-speed manual or the 6-speed S-tronic. Needless to say, there's a great satisfaction that comes with driving a manual gearbox. However, for those people that choose to go with the S-tronic, by definition, this gearbox works and acts and looks like an automatic. However, it genuinely is a manual gearbox. Well, it's actually really two manual gearboxes joined together. And it pre-selects each gear. Bottom line, you've got lightning fast shifts. In fact, it's one of the fastest shifting gearboxes in the world. And when you look at this little car, some of the technology here is actually rather staggering. The transmission in this car actually shares a lot of its technology, or at least from a design point of view, with a car like the Bugatti Veyron. Now, performance is a lot more than just engines and gearboxes. It also takes into account things like handling and control of a vehicle as well. So why don't we take a look at some of the features that makes this car such an exceptionally well-handling car. For the front suspension, we have a McPherson strut suspension layout, and on the rear we have a very sophisticated multi-link arrangement. In fact, both of these components are very similar in design to the incredible handling Audi TT. Speaking of components that are similar to the Audi TT, next up would be the braking system. We have 4 large disc brakes. The fronts are ventilated, and one of the benefits of a ventilated disc brake is that it gives you consistent stopping regardless of whether you're in a mountain range or on a highway at high speed. Next up, as a support system for the disc brakes, we have ABS, and the benefit of ABS is that it gives you the ability to apply the brakes fully while still maintaining steering control. Speaking of control, one of the next features that we have, it's one of the hallmarks of the Audi brand, and that is Quattro. One of the greatest benefits of Quattro, besides the usual thing that people think of, which is snow, is the fact that it gives you more control in wet weather, but it also gives you more control in dry weather. Speaking of control, next up is some of the suspension we have available. When you get the car with an S-Line package, we also recalibrate the suspension. We put slightly stiffer springs, we recalibrate the dampers to give you a more sporty ride. But one of the nice things about this is that the car is still comfortable around town. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now we move to the interior of the A3. From an enthusiast point of view, this is an absolutely fantastic place to be. Or for somebody that enjoys a more comfortable car, also a great place to be. We have a couple of different seating options. You've got the standard seat and you've got the S-Line seat, which I'm actually sitting in right now. Not just comfortable, but also very sporty. You take a look at the steering wheel, which is leather wrapped. We also have indentations for the correct placement of your thumbs while you're driving. We have a leather wrapped shifter, which needless to say helps facilitate your hand not slipping off the shifter when you're shifting aggressively. And then you take a look at the details on the interior. It is 100% an Audi in every respect. Everything you look at, there's a place for everything and everything in its place. The fit, the finish, the details, the materials, all top quality. When you take a look at the inlays, everything is beautifully done, top to bottom and inside and out. An unusual feature for some of the European cars, needless to say in Europe, but a requirement for all US cars, is cup holders, and we have two large cup holders here on the side. Interior lighting is, needless to say, fantastic. We have individual lights for both front seats, and then you have the dome light for all seats on the inside. And last but not least, speaking of lighting, we also have the open sky system, which brings a totally new dimension to this car. As I said earlier on, people are looking for a very versatile car when they choose something like the A3. And when you fit the open sky, it basically turns it into a four-door roadster. You've also got excellent light through the top as well. So just some of the small details. Another feature that I like very much is the trip computer. It doesn't just show me gas mileage, but also shows me the amount of time that I've been in the car and how far I've driven on each drive that I've taken off on. And from a storage point of view, you'll notice ample door pockets and also a very ample glove compartment as well. The one thing I'd like you to take away from this is the details on the inside of the A3. The fit and finish, as I've mentioned already, is spectacular. The various options to make the car more comfortable or more individual are also here as well. And last but not least, it's the driving experience. Yes, the A3 might be the smallest Audi we offer, but from a driving point of view, the car is not just comfortable, not just quiet, but it also delivers from a tactile feel point of view. And the grin factor with this car is very large. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now we want to move on to the technology segment for the Audi A3. When you take a look at the A3, it's very much a technical tour de force. A lot of customers, when they think about technology, they think about things like, for example, the Audi concert radio system. While very good, that doesn't necessarily do it for me. They also think about things like Sirius, and they think about things like iPod integration. This car has absolutely all of that. Some customers might take it a step further. They take a look at the instrumentation, the trip computer, the way it's very logically laid out and can be read while you're traveling pretty much at any speed. The navigation system that is available in this car, absolutely state-of-the-art, fantastic system, will reroute you once you get live traffic, can do all of the above. However, I want to take technology and bring it a step further. Technology is, in these days, we can walk into any major brand store and pick up technology reasonably cheaply. But from a technology point of view, when you're talking about an automobile, think about the way it's designed from the ground up, or think about technology from an engineering point of view. We have a car with a 2-liter turbocharged engine that puts out great horsepower, incredible torque, gets wonderful performance, and gets fantastic gas mileage. Look at those, they're diametrically opposed. This car yet does it. We have a transmission that is one of the most advanced transmissions in the world. In fact, as I mentioned earlier on, the same type of transmission that a Bugatti Veyron uses. Not exactly the same transmission, but the same type of transmission. You take a look at all the awards that the car has won for not just its gas engine, but also its TDI engine. Absolutely fantastic. You take a look at how the car has done from a crash safety point of view. Again, a award-winning car, multi-award winning car. So I want you to think about technology slightly differently. Every car is going to have a navigation system, a dashboard that will appeal to the driver, gadgets here and there. But technology actually goes a step further. Think of it from more of an engineering point of view. And this car, believe me, is an engineering tour de force.